All right, we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Happy Wife School Show. It's good to be here today after, I think it was just a week off last week. Adam and I went camping, had a fantastic time. Might share more about that at the end because your donations and contributions on the Saturday show helped me to do something really nice and fun for Adam last weekend. So I'll share with you guys what that was at the end of the live stream today. So I'll be here obviously today. And then I'll also be here next Saturday. And then I'll be gone the third Saturday in August. So looking forward to today's show and next week's show. Today we're talking about why good men don't pack their bags and leave a toxic woman. So excited to get into that. If you guys can let me know in the chat that you can hear me and see me okay, I always appreciate that very much. And before I check the chat, just a couple reminders that I like to give at the beginning of every live show. If you don't like these reminders and my chit chat at the beginning of the show or at the end of the show, you can check out the Happy Wife School on Spotify or Apple Podcast, where I put the live show with wonderful edits from my lovely, wonderful assistant, Chelsea. And those come out when I do a new live show on the channel. We release the podcast on Wednesdays. So you can always download the latest show on Spotify or Apple Podcast. And if you do follow me there, if you can give the show a rating or a review, that would be very, very helpful to help more people find the Happy Wife School. And then also, if you haven't already, please go visit my colleague Josie's YouTube channel. She is the autoimmune expert and helps people to heal and resolve autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses by working on the emotional state as the root cause of our issues with chronic illness and autoimmune. So if you struggle with things like chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia or Hashimoto's or Graves' disease or a chronic illness like anxiety or depression or ADHD or chronic pain, you want to go check out her channel to see her message and what she has to offer to help people heal from these debilitating diseases where the Western medicine and even alternative medicine doesn't have answers or solutions. So she's amazing and has a really, really great video that she just did a couple weeks ago on why 80% of women have why 80% of autoimmune diseases happen to women. And it's an incredible live show. You want to go check that out if you haven't already. And then one last announcement that I've been telling you guys about is I am working on my first book. And this is going to be a book for married women in their 30s and older who struggle with the issues I've talked about on the channel of withdrawing and shutting down to sex and marriage. We don't have a solid title for it yet, but one that we are playing around with is that happy wives enjoy sex, and teaching women to enjoy sex for themselves and helping them understand why they have shut down and to open back up to sex in their marriage as a healthy and part of being a happy wife. So I'll keep you guys updated as I continue to move in that direction with that book. We're very excited and just in the beginning stages, but like I said, I'll keep you updated. So I'm going to check the comments here for just a moment. Make sure you guys can hear me coming through. Thank you, Phil. Saw it right away, loud and clear. Appreciate that so much. And hi to Luke, and a big thank you to Steve and Phil for moderating the chat today and keeping it a great place to be. Who else do I see here? Let's see. Lots from Phil and Steve. Hi, Ben, Luke, Rabid Gator, those that show up every week. So nice to see you guys. Luke, I appreciate that comment. I hope her book goes viral for the sake of women. They are truly not happy and destroying themselves. Very, very well said and very true. So thank you guys so much. Hi, Chris. Good to have you here. Good morning. Emmanuel, nice to have you here as well. And all the other names that I see. I do see a comment. I'm a bit out of focus. I'm in a new space and working on getting the the lighting in the video right, because I have a lot less natural light than I had in my old office. So we're getting it figured out. But what's important is the message today. So let's get into it. Why good men don't pack their bags and leave a toxic woman. So the reason that I want to talk about this is there's a lot of comments on my channel. I'm here to educate women and red pill women about what I call our woman ways, and how we show up in a marriage with a good man that is very toxic, so that we have the opportunity to see ourselves and to change, because that was my experience. Because I was so entrenched in being a victim and blaming my husband for the issues and problems in the marriage, I felt entitled to my poor behaviors as a woman, our controlling, emasculating behaviors, putting our walls up, being the ice queen, living in constant blame of our husbands and gaslighting them to believe that they are the problem. I didn't have a way to break out of that until I was red pill and saw the truth of how I was showing up in my own unhappiness and just in my own wiring as a woman. And so I'm here to red pill women to help them wake up, those that I can reach, so that they can have the same opportunity and same path that I had, to be able to change. And this is also a channel for good men to be red pilled, to see the truth of what is happening, so that they can live in the reality of the dynamics that they have with their wife in her woman ways, and no longer unknowingly give their power away and allow her to emasculate them or gaslight or manipulate them. And in that way, when we're learning, we can find what I talk about, the dance. And so my channel is meant to be educational to women, to good men, to help us navigate and break out of these common issues in a marriage, so that I give a path to what it looks like to have a healthy, happy marriage between a good man and a woman. A lot of comments on my videos when I'm educating about our woman ways, educating good men, educating women, so that we have a new path forward. A lot of comments will say things like, just leave. Why would a good man stay? He should just leave, or send her packing. And that's not a realistic option. And it's not the reality for, I would say, 90% of good men in marriages who are struggling with these issues and have a wife on the spectrum of the woman ways that I talk about. Telling a good man, just send her packing or pack your bags and leave, is a victim mentality. And no choice in life where there is an investment of time and love and energy and money, and it's a big life commitment, rarely is it as simple of a choice as just leave. It's just not. There are so many other factors and things that come into play, and especially in a marriage, and especially for a good man. So I want to talk about this today, why good men stay with a toxic woman and stay in a toxic marriage, because in my experience in talking with and working with good men, I would say about 90% choose to stay. And where this will go later on in the show is 5 reasons that good men don't leave a toxic marriage. But as per usual, I'm going to do a little bit of setup and giving some context and education around this, to help good men who have been watching the channel, are seeing the truth and reality of what they experience in their marriage, to help you understand why you stay, why other good men stay, and to normalize staying and normalize the issues that you are navigating and experiencing in your marriage to a certain degree. I'm not talking about in this episode, or really in any of my videos, I talk about women having these issues on a spectrum. And I'm not talking about women who are highly, highly toxic, say an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10, an 8, 9, or 10. I'm talking about women that are maybe a 6 or below, which is the majority of married women to good men and what good men are dealing with. and helping to normalize so that if you are a good man choosing to stay in your marriage and seeing the truth of your wife as a woman and her toxicity and her emasculation and gaslighting and manipulation on a spectrum, that you can take responsibility for your choice to stay and not be a victim to what's happening in the marriage. The goal for a good man who is choosing to stay, despite the toxicity, despite the reality of what he's seeing with his wife, is to not be a victim, but to live in what I talk about, can't take responsibility. And a huge step and a huge part of living in can't take responsibility is to normalize, for a good man in these circumstances, is to normalize the reality of marriage and the issues that happen in a marriage and being married to a woman. That when you can normalize and say, oh, this is really common. And what I often say, you didn't marry the wrong woman, you married a woman. And because as women, we live in can't victim, blaming you for our unhappiness and miserableness, we feel entitled to these poor behaviors. And this is how we show up unless we are willing to change. So I want you to know that what you experience in your marriage is very common. And what happens behind closed doors of 90% of marriages. And to support you in living and can't take responsibility, understanding why you are staying and not being a victim to it. Because if you stay a victim to staying in your marriage and not getting a divorce, or being a victim to your wife's woman ways, that's going to continue to weaken you and continue to leave you feeling trapped and like you have no options. When you take responsibility in any area of life for your choice to stay and your choice to be there and choice to continue, then you can be grounded in yourself, confident in your choice, secure in your choice, and focused on the good things and managing and navigating the circumstances for what they are. And that's what good men have to do who choose to stay in a marriage with a wife who's not going to change and is going to have these woman ways I talk about, again, on a spectrum. And the biggest reason that's really important in laying the foundation of what I'm talking about today, the biggest reason that a good man stays is that he fell in love. He fell in love with the facade of the woman that he married. That is, women, before getting married, we all have a facade presenting our best self and who we want to present ourselves to be able to get the man and get the marriage. And then we often bait and switch after getting married and the facade drops. But for a good man, he's still in love. Some part of him is still in love with the woman he thought he was marrying in her facade, in spite of her toxicity and emasculating ways. And that's the biggest reason that a good man stays, is because he has fallen in love with that woman that he thought he married. And he's still hoping that she's going to come back. He will see glimpses of maybe she's in a good mood one day, or doing enough that she needs to do to keep him in the marriage. And he believes she's going to come back. That's the biggest reason. And he's very hopeful. He thinks maybe once the kids are grown, maybe once these issues are resolved with her family, or if she goes to therapy and resolves her past, she'll come back. And that's the nature of a good man, to hold on to the positive and to hold on to the hope that the woman he married is still in there somewhere. So that's I would say number one, the biggest reason. And then coupled with that, in our woman ways and our toxicity of how we show up, and in our own false reality of being a victim and blaming our husbands for the issues in the marriage and the issues in our unhappiness and miserableness. We gaslight our husbands to make them believe that they are the problem. And a good man believes, because of everything his wife has made him to believe and pointing the finger out and blaming him, he really believes that he is the problem. That the reason the marriage isn't working is because of something he is doing. So he's not looking at all the issues and toxicity of his wife. That's not the nature of a good man. He's focused on, what do I need to change? And he's bought into the gaslighting that he's the reason she is so unhappy with him. And that's part of the psychological manipulation that he stays. So coupled with having fallen in love with the facade and then believing that he is the problem, he doesn't leave. Not to mention the loyalty he has, that he's committed. He knows he's made vows and often has strong Christian beliefs or other religious beliefs that keep him staying. And of course, he's going to stay and see it through for the kids. So a good man will stay and endure the toxicity, endure the emasculating behaviors of his wife, because his nature is to still focus on the good and to love her. He's focused on himself and has bought into the gaslighting that he's the problem, and he's loyal and committed to the marriage. And as women, we know this. We know that a good man is committed and loyal and that he won't leave in general. And so she can get away and feel entitled in her behavior. Sorry, guys, my page has got a little out of whack. There we go. So whereas a woman feels no commitment and obligation to stay, a good man will see it through. And so in helping good men take responsibility for their choice to stay, I want to go a little deeper into the reasons. And we're going to talk about 5 reasons good men don't walk away from a toxic marriage. And again, the purpose being is knowing that you could leave. You absolutely could leave, but you don't. And so the key piece in this is when you know the reasons why you are staying and you take responsibility for those reasons and for your choice to stay, you're not stuck in camp victim thinking this is happening to you and that you have no options. That it's a choice to stay. And when you know that other good men are choosing to stay for these very reasons and that they're all valid and reasonable, when you know that all women have the toxic behaviors I talk about on a spectrum, then you can normalize your experience and navigate it from taking responsibility for your choice to be there and navigate it in a healthy, responsible way where you are no longer giving away your power and no longer feel trapped or that you have no other options. And you can live and can't take responsibility and understand yourself and not beat yourself up or think, what's wrong with me? I can't leave. You can know, no, I'm choosing to stay. And this is why. And then step up to the plate in that responsibility and know that that's an honorable, integrous thing for you to do as a good man. So getting into the 5 reasons good men don't walk away from a toxic marriage. Number 1, men are afraid of the threat of getting a divorce. Number 1, men are afraid of the threat of getting a divorce. And so what I mean by that is that because a good man is so loyal and committed to his vows, he lives in a cognitive dissonance that he can't even see that divorce is a possibility. He's so committed to doing the right thing and seeing the vows through, it creates a cognitive dissonance that divorce is even an option. And again, as women, we know this, and a big issue that a lot of good men have to navigate is a woman constantly threatening divorce and using divorce as the threat of divorce as leverage to keep a good man hooked. And that creates a fear in a good man being terrified of a divorce happening. And so he does everything he can in his commitment and loyalty to see it through. And he knows that a divorce is very destructive emotionally and financially. And so he lives in that threat of divorce and being fearful of it. And then his wife playing into that and threatening him with divorce. Number 2, the tease. That again, a good man who fell in love with the facade of the woman he married, of who she presented herself to be, every once in a while, we give just enough. And I call that the tease. So maybe your wife engages in sex again or starts wanting to have more sex, or she sprinkles in a little affection, or she's being playful and laughing. And that's the glimpse that a good man will see that a woman is actually doing purposely and teasing a good man that she's still in there somewhere to keep him on her emotional hooks. So in the tease, it gives a man just enough to think there might be a better time around the corner. Maybe when the kids leave. Maybe when she's not as overwhelmed as a mom. When these issues get solved, she'll come back. And that keeps a good man hooked. The 3rd reason a good man will stay in a toxic marriage, number 3, the financial liability. So a good man knows that the court system is biased against him and that there's a great risk financially and emotionally in going through with a divorce. He knows it's the end of of his life as he knows it, what he's built, what he's used to, that everything he knows and what his life has been will be destroyed. That at least I know what I have and I don't have to start over at my age. And the last 2 of why a good man will stay in a toxic marriage, I believe, are the most important. Number 4, he still loves his wife despite the toxicity. That a good man's nature is to focus on the good and the positive. So he's not focused on the toxicity and the poor behaviors of his wife. He's focused on the good he sees in her and the positive. That's the lens a good man sees his wife through, where it's the exact opposite for a woman. When we're unhappy in ourselves, We're the exact opposite. We focus on the negative and all the things we see in our husband of how they're the problem, of all the ways we blame them. And that creates the lens we see our husbands through, and then why we become repulsed by them and have our walls up, because we're seeing through a false reality of all the negativity that we're focused on in them. Whereas a good man, he focuses on the good things and the positive. So he still loves his wife. And the fifth reason that a man will stay in a toxic marriage, he's a man of integrity and character, and he's committed to his vows and responsibilities. So in this, there are two main things that are most important to a good man, that he will stay despite his wife's toxic behaviors, despite the emasculation, despite the gaslighting. And those are his children, that being a dad and seeing through his responsibilities and commitment as a dad is more important to him and his values than leaving. And many who are Christian or another religion where divorce is not an option. They've made vows before God, and they will endure and go through great lengths to endure a toxic marriage because of his faith, because of his commitment and being a dad. And he will see it through. And what I want these men to know is that that's a real man. A real man whose values lie in the commitment and vows he has made, and is facing the emasculation and manipulation and gaslighting of his wife, to have the strength to endure and navigate, to see through your commitment and vows, is manning up to your responsibilities. And it takes great strength. And I'm not saying this is the only choice a good man can make. I'm going to talk about that here in just a moment in the solution. But 90% of the good men that I work with, talk with, see in the comments on the channel, choose to stay and see through their commitment and vows. So don't be confused by men saying just pack up and leave, or send your wife packing. That's what a real man would do. A real man wouldn't put up with this. Don't be confused that that's strength. That's coming from a victim mentality. And you're a manning up to your responsibility. And that this is what real men do when they know their values and what's most important to them in their commitment and vows. And in this, and taking responsibility, this is where you don't get to feel sorry for yourself or have a poor me attitude. This is where you take responsibility for your choice so you are not a victim to it. It can maintain your strength and sense of self and vitality within yourself. And the men that fall in this category are often reflective and continue to look at themselves. What can I do better to make the situation better? And they don't get caught up in feeling sorry for themselves or staying in camp victim. That this takes a lot of strength, a lot of courage, and a lot of confidence to do this and stay and do it well because of your commitment and because of your vows. And then again, in the solution, I'll talk about that's not the choice for every good man. And there's a way to make the choice to leave where you are not a victim and feeling sorry for yourself. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk to the women and talk a little bit about the solution. So for the women listening and recognizing yourself in the toxic behaviors that we have with a good man, and you don't want to be the toxic woman that your good man chooses to stay with, and you want to change, that's the purpose of the channel. All women on a spectrum married to a good man have the behaviors and woman ways that I talk about. It's part of our wiring and what happens when we live in camp victim and stay in our unhappiness. And so the purpose of the red pill is seeing the truth of our nature and the truth of how we show up so that we actually have a choice and we can change. And it's not about beating ourselves up that we have toxicity and toxic behaviors we bring into a marriage with a good man. It's also normalizing to understand these are the patterns and wirings that we have as a woman, and we can be a victim to it, or we can take responsibility, take a big piece of humble pie and be able to change. The reason that we have such toxic behaviors in a marriage with a good man is because we live in camp victim. We are so focused on our husbands and what they're doing or not doing, holding on to hurts from the past, holding on to the ways we believe that they have wronged us, that we live in a victim mentality and what I call camp victim. And in that, we feel entitled. It's not that we don't see what we're doing. We see and know when we have our walls up and we're being the ice queen. We know when we're being shaming and judging our husbands and making them wrong and bad. But we blind ourselves to it because we feel entitled to behave the way we do because we believe that they're responsible. So as women, we have to see that we are the problem with a good man. Women are the problem with a good man. A good man's nature is loving, kind, caring, wants to do the right thing, wants to take responsibility. Doesn't mean he's perfect, but he is quick to apologize when he makes a mistake, quick to correct his behavior. When he's married to a woman who's willing to look at herself and take responsibility, he will always be that good man. The problem is, as women, why we are the problem when we live in camp victim, blaming them, emotionally lashing out, putting our walls up, pushing them away. There are consequences for those behaviors, and a good man will eventually either withdraw and give up or become defensive and fight back. And then we use his reactions to our poor behaviors as a way to point the finger out and say, see, look how he is, look what he does, which just further entrenches us into camp victim. And that's the lens then we see the marriage and see our husbands as good men. So the solution is seeing ourselves, seeing how we are showing up, our part and role in the issues, taking responsibility so that we no longer show up in those toxic behaviors and can be in control of our emotional state and in control of our own reactions and how we are showing up. And your good man will be right there waiting for you. So the solution for men is what I've been talking about today is taking responsibility for your choice to stay. If you're a good man and you're seeing the truth of how your wife shows up in the woman ways I talk about, the emasculation, the gaslighting, blaming you for her unhappiness, you have to, one, understand why you're staying and then take responsibility for that choice so that you are not a victim. And part of what guides a man to take responsibility for his choice to stay is understanding and knowing his values. What's most important to him. And it's often in this scenario going to be his kids or his faith and the vows that he took. And it's living and can't take responsibility to see the reality, to know you didn't marry the wrong woman. You just married a woman. And there's not another woman out there that's going to be better. It's just going to be a different scale. So how do you navigate and make the best of your circumstances in the marriage that you are in? And then for other good men who aren't sure if you want to stay or not, it comes down to values. What's most important to you? And if you don't have children, you might assess your values and what you want in your life and your priorities, and you might choose to leave. The key in choosing to leave is not being a victim. So leaving from a place of, I'm not putting up with this. I'm not going to be treated this way. I'm out. I'm done. That's going to be a victim mentality. And you will end up jaded, angry, and bitter, and have a negative experience of yourself in your life and a jaded view of women in marriage. If you choose to leave, it has to be from a grounded place of understanding why you are leaving, taking responsibility that you made a choice to get married and it didn't work out, and making a conscious choice to leave because of your values, but not being a victim and jaded and angry. So if you are a woman listening and you want to learn to go from camp victim to camp take responsibility and outgrow your toxic woman ways, then you can check out the link to my happiness program in the description below. And if you're a good man who's choosing to stay and you don't want to stay and be a shell of a man and continue to lack confidence or strength in yourself, that's what my men's course, the Marriage Rescue Course for Good Men Only, is all about, is helping you to see the reality of your wife in a constructive way and helping you get clarity on what the most likely outcome of your marriage is. So again, you can live and can't take responsibility. That's the key for whether I'm talking to women or men. The key in life and to being happy and navigating difficult circumstances and challenges in life is living and can't take responsibility. And so you can also check out the link to the Marriage Rescue Course in the description below and apply for a consultation. And thank you all so much for listening today. It's a little bit shorter. But if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing if you know someone that it will help. Consider subscribing if you aren't already. We are so close to 200,000. I think as of today, it's at like 198,500. So we're just at about 199,000, and I would imagine probably by the end of August or so. So excited to see the channel growing, and thank you all so much for your continued support in that. It wouldn't be happening without your support and all the shares the channel gets and the way that it's spreading. So thank you all so much for your support in that. And I'm going to go to the chat here for just a bit. I think Phil's going to send me some questions. All right, I'm going to take a sip of water. Good. Yeah, good. That's great, Luke. There's a difference between just walking away and not giving what isn't appreciated and being bitter. Yeah, huge, huge, huge difference. Let's see. Right? Yep, Ben, let's go. 200,000. All right. You're welcome, Jared. Thank you so much for your comment. Phil says questions are cut off, so I'll go to my email here in just a moment. Yeah. Just looking through. All right, I'm going to go over to make sure. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go over to my email and see if there's some questions that Phil sent my way. So give me just a second. Oh, and I wanted to share with you guys at the end of the show, so I didn't take up too much time in the beginning, which I can do. And let me take water first. I wanted to share with you guys that your contributions are so generous, and Adam and I use them to go have a fun time or have a date or go do something fun. And last weekend, Adam and I went camping on the Poudre River here in Colorado, which is very, very good fishing, and Adam needed some new fishing gear. And so I, unbeknownst to him, before we met, we had to meet up because he worked Friday and I went up a little bit early. But I went to a great fishing shop here in Littleton, Colorado called Discount Tackle. If you're in Colorado and in the Denver area, it's off Santa Fe and Dartmouth. It's an awesome shop. Just really, really nice people, and got Adam a new reel and some lures and a new rod. And he caught 7 fish last Saturday on the Poudre River, and just had so much fun and was so happy. And just thank you guys so much, because you made that happen, and wanted to share that with you and give my thanks for that. So, all right, some questions. Let's see what's here. Really good question. I stepped outside of my marriage and had an emotional affair. What do I do whenever I'm reminded of my discretion? Take it, ask questions. You have to, I have videos on this. I'm not thinking of the titles in specific right now. But when you are reminded of your discretion, you have to know and do the work to forgive yourself and understand the reasons why you stepped out of your marriage. And if you're, as a good man, there is a video on why good men cheat. That's a live show or a podcast episode on Spotify or Apple. I would watch that. And then you have to forgive yourself by understanding why you did it, and to take responsibility for your choice in it. And then you have to know, as a woman, your wife will never, ever let it go. So you have to decide. I wouldn't ask questions, because there's nothing she's going to tell you that's going to be based in any kind of reality. The best thing is to know this is what she's doing as a woman. This is her own living as a victim to what happened and not moving forward. And it's what she can pull out of her back pocket anytime to make you wrong and bad, or to excuse her own poor behavior in the marriage. And another option that you could take is letting her know, I know that you're still hurt by this and upset by this. It's not unhealthy to keep hashing it out or reminding me of it in the marriage. So when that happens, I don't mean this in a hurtful way, but I'm going to start walking away to maybe, go for a walk or go do something that you enjoy, and not continue that conversation because it's keeping you both stuck in the past. And that's another option you can take. But I would check out the videos that I have on why good men cheat or have an affair or an emotional affair, to understand and then be able to forgive yourself, so you're not gaslit or manipulated by her when she brings it up. Oh, thank you, Sweet Home Zion. Your channel is really helping me. I'm so much less depressed and stressed since I see what's really going on. My wife is a little open, but not yet listening herself, married 23 years. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a good point. And that what I share on the channel, and the purpose of seeing the reality, is to actually break out of being disillusioned by what's happening. And the goal is then to be less depressed and stressed and understand what's going on. So thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know that book. Someone asked me to comment on a book, but I don't know that book. Oh, good for you. Bless you. I've been married 47 years, but separating this week. Your video has brought unbelievable clarity to the emotional prison I've been in. I love my wife, but I now see I'm abandoning myself for her is not good. Thank you so much for sharing. That's a good example of taking responsibility for leaving and not being a victim. So thank you, Doug. Yeah. I'm going to pick one of these. I've got 3 more, but I'm just going to pick one. I'm going to take Gary's question here. How do you red pill a woman? So the only way that you can red pill a woman is to take the risk, and you might show her one of my videos, to take the risk to see, is she going to be open-minded and be willing to look at herself or not? And that can happen. Some women, a very small percentage of women, will watch one of my videos her husband shared with her and go, oh my gosh, this is me. This is very humbling, and be open to it right away. The majority of women who are open to my message and their husband share a video, they're upset at first, and then they recognize that experience of them being upset by my video shows them there's truth in it and will come around. And that is an open-minded woman who's going to be open to my message. And then for a woman who just gets really upset and never comes around, you can't red pill her. So a woman really has to make the choice. Does she want to see these behaviors and want to take accountability and responsibility to change? And then she'll see the truth of her behaviors. It will take time. It is not an overnight fix. It takes time to change our behaviors and create a new framework to live from and operate from in a marriage. But that's how you red pill a woman. But you can't force a woman to be red pilled. She's either going to be open-minded or not, and you won't know until you try to help her see, maybe by sharing one of my videos, and her response will tell you everything. And if she doesn't come around to it and she's just angry about it, you can know she's closed-minded and she's not going to see the truth of her nature and her woman ways. So thank you guys so much for the questions. There's a couple other good ones on here that I will save for another time or put on a list to potentially answer at another time. So thank you for that. Oh, thank you, Luke Hasley. Thank you for guiding us to be better wives by understanding our woman ways. Thank you so much. And you're a very brave woman and courageous woman to be here and learning from it. And you're showing others who maybe think women aren't listening or don't want to listen that you are. So thanks, Phil. Thank you so much. More bait, more polls and dates. Absolutely. And thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate that very, very much. And Brody, for your contribution as well. Yeah, it goes to more fun for Adam and I. And it was so much fun to be able to do that for him last week. So thank you guys so much. And yeah, let's see. Hold on just a second. Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you guys. My chat's glitching up a little bit over here. So, all right, there we go. Yeah, Chris, thank you. Karen, I can't wait to see the book on your bookshelf next to your sign. I appreciate that. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up for today. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you guys next Saturday. Next Saturday. And hope you all have a great rest of your weekend and a great